You touched on like your first time and then sort of getting into it, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that being a bit nerve wracking. Or did you feel that nerves, or was it more excitement, or how did that first one go for you?
Well, the first one was wild.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So, on today's episode, we deep dive into the world of live card breaking with one of Australia's top breakers. So, today's guest has gone from balancing a full time job and family life to turning his passion into a full time career. We will be discussing how to get started, the challenges you may face, and the most important factors that will lead to success. Stick around, you won't want to miss this. A huge warm welcome to Cameron from Dallyrips. How are you, Cam?
Doing well, Charlie. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well, thanks. So yeah, very excited to speak to you. I think there's a lot of people out there that, try to get into breaking or just quite don't know what exactly to do to get started. So I'm glad to have you here so you can shine some light on that. And we will get into it because we've got a lot to get through. We'll begin where your journey first started. So can you just tell us all how you got into breaking or how the idea come about to start doing this?
Yeah, so taking a step back from that, essentially I got back into the hobby because one of my mates at work where I used to work, he was a big advocate for AFL cards. I started back into the collecting side of things with AFL product, and then basically got into Pokemon after. I think this is a story for most people, but when 151 came about, so being 33 now, and being something that I played a lot when I was a kid. I think it was 8 or 9 when it first came out. Obviously, the nostalgic feels of 151 came out, so got back into that, or into Pokemon specifically around then, and then One Piece a little bit later on. But specifically on breaking itself, my first interaction with a break was through a AFL break, which was done on Facebook and YouTube. So basically, just bought a spot into break. You get allocated a team, and then through that team, you basically get all the cards for that team. So I was lucky to land Collingwood and got a couple of nice cards from that. So the first experience
Oh,
of it and first impressions of breaking was a little bit ordinary, I would say. Like I've felt like the production value wasn't really there, and real low quality camera. You can't really see what's happening. The person that was doing the break wasn't very interactive, so I was like, okay, well, it's not great. And then, of course, with the algorithm and how it works, and searching for these type of things, or searching for more breaks because it would happen like once every couple of weeks, not all the time. So, lo and behold, download TikTok for the first time ever because I was an Instagram user and was basically run through Instagram Reels, and that was it. And funnily enough, I was the person I landed on first was Savvy, and I saw what Savvy was doing. It looked like a lot of fun. His community was quite infectious in terms of them having a good time. It was going to Christmas, a lot of packs being opened and whatnot. So I saw his, and then again, the algorithm does its thing. You will see other breakers and see what they're doing, and then again, you see what they're doing. Like, oh, I feel like I could do a little bit more. And started off doing like live stuff through playing games and whatnot. Just play World of Warcraft quite a lot, and then I was streaming on Twitch for a couple of months and enjoyed that, but it was a lot of hard work. So saw the business opportunity that came with it, and I think a lot of people that started doing breaking probably see that side of it. Probably a little bit naive as to how much work was actually entailed into making it what it is. So
we'll get into a lot of that later. We don't want to give out too much at the start. But again, like you touched on like your first time and then sort of getting into it, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that being a bit nerve wracking. Or did you feel that nerves, or was it more excitement, or how did that first one go for you?
well, the first one was wild. Setting up the shop and the back end side of things was probably like one of the bigger obstacles as such. And where do you even start in making a website? I've never made a website in my life. There's a number of platforms out there. There's Square, there's Shopify. There's other ones that are out there that are a bit more locally based and how do you take payment? How does that work? And, you know, I'm one person, you know, I've got limited experiences with those sorts of things. I'm very basic graphic design, and you know, I'm a jet at Microsoft Paint, so I use use that to my advantage. But it is very very overwhelming, the start of it, and I think at the start I was feeling quite overwhelmed, but I saw didn't really have a goal, I would say, when I first started, but like seeing the potential and then seeing the first live and the live working and then the community or the people that will come around you, it just made it more comfortable, I would say. If you have good people around you, just things just seem to work a little bit easier, if that makes sense. So
Well, I guess like the more you do something with anything, like the better you're going to get. And I'm sure if the nerves are there, they're going to slowly go away the more experience you get. And that's what I found, myself. And I'm sure it's true for a lot of other people. So again, getting back to that, now you got a bit of experience. You've almost been at it for a year. So, if you could go back and tell yourself a couple of things, that you know now, back when you started, what do you think that'll be?
geez, there's so many things that I would tell myself back then. I think you know, a lot of people are numbers, and I was very much numbers, and focusing on numbers, and you know, you look at your followers and those sorts of things, and like followership and having mass followership isn't what makes you successful. It's what makes you successful is basically what you put out, in terms of content, and how people relate to that. So making things like relatable and making your content relatable to what you're trying to achieve. So for me, like when I first started, it was very much like, here's a bit of everything. So, you know, the grading process, you know, how tall I am, 4'9".
That's the running joke that you got going, isn't it? Well, by the way, everyone, Cameron's a 6'9" giant, if you didn't know. So I've met him in person, and I barely touch his nipple. So very, very tall guy.
A bit short. But you
Yeah.
know, just really trying to go across. And then I think my first video was like a meme one, so it was like a an English 151 God pack, and it was like the expectations versus reality, like Instagram expectations versus the reality of it. And then, you know, you open up a pack, anyone that's opened up 151 just knows that
Yeah.
that the, you know, the God pack is extremely hard to hit. But you know, did that and kind of like
Definitely.
scattergunned it, and then like I'd always yeah, look back at those things and think like, oh, okay, you know, my video's only getting 100 like or 100 views, 200 views, 300 views, but it doesn't matter like how many views that your video's getting. It's like how your videos transfers those people that are viewing your video to come into your live, then interact with you live, then from interacting to your live to them becoming a customer or someone from the community. As I prefer to refer to anyone that does jump in as a member of the community rather than a quote unquote customer. So
Well, I guess over time it's going to compound, and at the start you can't expect, to have thousands of viewers or thousands of views. So I think going in with that mindset of like not worrying about those numbers per se, and just concentrating on, like you said, being relatable, targeting the customer base that you want to target, you think that'll resonate with your content in your stream, I think is important. But yeah, compounding that over time, you're going to get results, and the consistency comes into play then, I'm guessing. So yeah, that's really good advice. I think I'm going to touch on now, because I think not everyone falls in this category, but there are a lot of people that, might have a wife at home, might have kids, or, another job while they're trying to get this started. So you're a good example of that. So at the start, when you started, you did have a full-time job and a family to look after. So how did you go about balancing all that while this, doing streaming and trying to build that business of, being a live breaker?
that was honestly probably one of the hardest probably one of the hardest periods of my life, I reckon. Honestly, like it's hard. It's good to think back on it now and like think how much, and like in the sense like you don't get times often to reflect of where you are. And you know, given the circumstances that myself and my family are in, like we have a mortgage, we got two kids, like little Ryan who's 3, Nala who's 8, going on 9, going on being a teenager with the with the attitude, and then very lucky to have a supportive business partner in Sam. And you know, obviously I'm not around at night times, and night times is a peak period for any live streamer. And there was a lot of tough times, I would say that, through working full time, you know, being up, 7 o'clock the next morning after finishing stream at 1 a.m. and, getting the kids ready for school and taking them to school, going to work and, trying to, meet your KPIs at work and, try and be yourself and whatnot, not try and be a grumpy, tired bastard. Don't get me wrong, I've had a few of those days, but there's certainly a lot of times there where I think Sam and I sat down and we were just like, how do we keep doing it? And at that stage, we didn't have any goals set or anything like that. It's just like trying to work out that balance, and that being consistent part is very important in what we do, and being content creators. Um, and I think the universe works in really strange ways. There was a period in June. I handed in my resignation, or a bit earlier than that. I handed in my resignation, gave 2 months' notice, and basically having that end goal. And then the little push. People have been really condescending in terms of what I was doing. I was like, you know what? I don't need this. It's making me
Yeah.
feel miserable and tired and even worse. But
Probably reaffirms your decision, I guess, though.
it does, yeah, absolutely. And then, since doing it, and I think having someone like you to talk to during those times is like, well, you're spending 50% of your time in the business. Imagine spending 100% of your time, and
Yeah.
what that looks like. And, at that time, being someone that's worked in a 9 to 5 for 14 plus years, basically my whole career, and working in local government for such a long time, it's such a
Yeah.
foreign thought to think. And then at that stage, I've never paid myself from the business account. Everything from the business has been reinvested into the business to make it better, have more stock, have more things. Working out that balance is you refine your processes and everything else that comes with it, and having such a strong community in itself helps you be motivated to drive towards that goal at the same time as well. Because if I logged on and on live, there's people that didn't interact with me, didn't know who I was, or those sorts of things, and just be like, well, you kind of just streaming to strangers, where I feel like I'm streaming to friends. So
Well, I guess that sort of goes in the next question, because obviously it is tough trying to, balance all that out. It is a lot of work. There's a lot of time and effort put in there. I guess there would have been moments that you probably thought of giving up. So, did that happen, and what sort of got you through those times?
yeah, the first one for me, the first time where I thought I was going to give up was and probably a lot of people that were starting in like selling Pokemon cards and using Shopify as your platform probably have experienced this as well. So this was leading into Christmas, so busy time. Stream was just picking up. Viewership was really good. People that were coming in really good. People coming back also really good. But then Shopify flagged the website, basically saying that selling Pokemon cards, and you need to verify that you're an authorized reseller of Pokemon cards. And it's like, well, how the heck do I
Yeah.
do that?
All the red tape comes out, doesn't it?
All your invoices, everything accumulated, and then sending it off to them, and then give them all the information that they wanted. They were fine with it, and basically said, okay, because they were holding the payments as well. So as a startup
Yeah.
business that had $5,000 in capital to start off with, like we're talking, I think they were holding like 10, 15 grand, and in the end. For me, for us like a new starter, I was just like, well, I can't buy anything. So my supplier at the time, he was good enough to work with me. He knew what was happening. He knew the world because he's gone through it with other stuff like eBay, PayPal, similar to most people. And he
Yep.
was like, all right, well, just whenever you get paid back, I can see that it's there. Then we'll go through there. So everything was released, and then they had issues with the payment side of things. So it was 3 weeks before I actually got paid out, and I couldn't like buy anything. This is going into Christmas. Thankfully, over Christmas, like I was going to Albany anyway. I was having a week off, but that lead up and that time, and not knowing when I don't have control over something, I was just like, well, I mean, I've led the horse to the water, and you just need a drink from that water, and then we'll be on our merry way. And I got to the point where I
Yeah.
had to get like my lawyer involved to write a letter to Shopify, basically saying if you don't release it, then we
Yeah.
have to take further action. But
It is a
it was
joke. Yeah. It's a
really
joke.
difficult to navigate, and for a lot of people it is. And had a pretty good support network with Jared from Card Rats and Adam from Savvy Trainer TCG helping me through that, because it's just not, it's completely foreign. When you get that email from Shopify, you're like, is this a joke? Like, what's the go here?
Yeah,
But that was
yeah,
probably the first time, and then the next time, as I've touched on, it's just like the family side of things. Like it was
yeah,
really tough for family, especially Ryan being so young as well. Like he was only 2 at the time, so
yeah,
Sam carrying the fort, being up at night with him, me being up all night, like it's crazy. And then you spend being that you do work full time, your packing days literally on a Tuesday night, and then having to go into work on a Wednesday morning after a night of packing when you finish at 6 a.m. You had an hour sleep and
yeah.
you're pretty much numbified. So,
I don't know how you do it because I got no kids myself, and I struggle to find time for anything else outside of what I can do for myself and my wife, or take the dog out for a run or whatever it is. And the business is so demanding, as like as you would know, like we both sort of go through it. We speak every day, but I don't know how to fit kids in there. So like props to you for getting everything done and still being here today. And I think touching on what you said about before, because this isn't my first business. I've had to like go those hurdles before with the payment systems. I've dealt with PayPal, eBay, Stripe as well gave me trouble. Even my own bank, like there's all this red tape that people don't know about it and they're not aware of. But I think if you kind of expect that, and again, this is why I did this channel. I want to get that information out there so people can get prepared for this. Rather than it's just dropped out of nowhere and you're like, oh, what do I do? And have that, to face that, sort of scary time and not know what to do. And no one needs that extra stress. So I think pointing that out's, really, really good advice. And just to kind of unfortunately expect that and know how to deal with it's going to be a massive thing. So going into the next thing, so obviously scaling the business, when your community grows and all of a sudden you start, having more work to do. So how did you deal with, the scaling of the business and dealing with, having to meet demand and still, maintain, good reputation in the business?
yeah. And reputation is probably like a big thing as well. And, the things like refining process and what I've touched on before, like really helps with that side of things as well. So, I mean, how to meet expectations. And I think this is the unfortunate reality of like working on the internet and working with such a massive group of people. Like, we've had over 1,200 unique customers that have come through the shop at one stage or another, not just from, excuse me, not just from here in Australia, but like US and Singapore, Malaysia, like Southeast Asia, New Zealand. Everyone has different expectations as to what it's going to be. Everyone prefers different ways that you're going to open up the packs. Everyone prefers different ways of how you sleeve your cards and everything else. And I think managing that is like can be quite difficult to navigate. And like for me, I'm very much a people person, very much a people pleaser. So if I can help someone, I will. But there's like times where it's just like, okay, like you're starting to pull the Mickey here a little bit, and it's like trying to rein them back, but in a soft approach, I guess. But the expectations side of things, when you're sending like this would just be like as an example, like with postage. Postage is probably like one of the biggest parts of being a breaker that makes it extremely difficult is the postage. A lot of good people in the community, but when um, someone comes on live, for example, like where's my parcel? We're like, all right, well, for me, what I do personally, I post in Ozpost, you get the tracking notification. So if you have the Ozpost app, you get that tick and it's basically gone through the shop. Sam adds everyone's tracking information into the shop, and then it's basically gone. So some people expect you to email the tracking number to them, and then it's just like um, it's not so much like their fault. Like if I was like selling maybe 10 parcels a day or whichever, or if it's not like one space, 1 week, we're sending off hundreds of parcels, then it'll make that process a little bit easier. But I think some people like expect you to message them. So it's like trying to direct people to the information as well. So on Discord's like a perfect tool for anyone that is starting out, and would highly recommend that being like one of the number one things to do. And then list things, put like pinned comments in your Discord channel of like how it works, or being open and honest, and try not to overpromise either. Like people tend to overpromise, and then the expectations are super high, or you set precedents for other people by doing one thing for one person and then not for another and whatnot. So, but things that happen, like you go through it the first time, if they keep doing it, be like, hey, look, pull them in, rein them back, and just be like, hey, look, this is how it works, and basically go from there. So, but the expectations, working the internet and dealing with thousands of people, you're not going to be able to meet everyone's expectations, and you got to feel comfortable and be okay with that. And for me, it's hard because
Yeah.
I'm very much a people person. If I could make everyone's
Yeah.
experience perfect, I would. But yeah, it has its challenges, that's for sure.
Definitely. I think that's impossible. And I had to learn that the hard way with the other businesses I've had in customer service. Like you can't please everyone at the start, even though like I'm similar to you, like you try. I found the more I try to do it, the more they sort of try and take advantage. So I found like setting boundaries and setting things to how I handle things and just keeping that, that certain way really helped a lot. And again, you're gonna get people that get upset, that get, pissed off for whatever reason, but it's just part of it. You can't please everyone, like you said. So that's definitely, some good advice to touch on there. Uh, I think going on too, because you started getting really busy. Obviously, there's more orders to pack. Obviously, there's a lot of time consumed because people only see like the live breaks, but there's so much behind the scenes that goes on. So I guess how did you handle that when you started getting so much more orders to do and to pack? Well, how did you tackle that?
Basically just slept less. In a nutshell, it was like get no sleep, like the bags under my eyes, like they're worse than when the kids were babies and newborns. It's just like I feel like I've aged 10 years, not aging very gracefully anymore. Although someone came into the chat last night and said I was pretty handsome, that was nice. But yeah, honestly, like managing it, at some stage you're gonna have to outsource some stuff as well. So for me, like packing was the biggest like time consumer. So I was lucky enough that my younger cousin who used to live down south moved to Perth for uni, and he's looking for some casual work and work that's going to be a little bit mundane. You're going to have to pay him pretty well to do it, and given that there's a lot of attention to detail, like he was pretty keen on doing that, and working for a family member, it takes that sort of stress. Take that stress away from working for someone else, and very flexible, like he can start and finish whenever he wants, as long as he comes on a Thursday packs and Sunday packs before we ship out. And some days like I won't have enough stuff to pack, so I'll manage it myself and I'll just pack every day until you're gone. And like for this weekend, for example, he's in Bali, so basically bring it back to Sam and I doing it. So good husband and wife bonding time in packing boxes and everything else, and making sure everyone gets all the stickers that they want.
There's no like fights in between because of the pressures, or is it sort of a time where you can sort of be okay? Or how does that go down with the wife?
Yeah, she gets over bulk as much as what I do. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah,
how much bulk does this guy have? And it's like 5 kilo worth box of bulk. And like, here you
jeez.
go.
Uh,
But yeah, just those little things. And she's like, I'm gonna write a process. And I was like, I'm not sure I'm gonna read that process, but little things like that. But in managing the time, I think it's as you do get busier, and it's like managing waste, it's managing your stock, it's managing everything else, how you divert your time. Like the amount of times I've messaged you after
yeah,
stream and be like, hey, look, we need to order some more X, Y, and Z from Japan, and
yeah,
Japan's on a public holiday. It's like
yeah.
you
Got
kind of
so
got
much
to
stuff.
navigate, and I think it comes through like with experience and what people want, and going
Yeah,
from Pokemon to One Piece to Dragon Ball to Disney, Pixar, Marvel. Like started off with just Pokemon, and then it's One Piece, and then One Piece to Disney, Disney to Pixar, then to Marvel. Marvel's been really good. Dragon Ball probably not so much, but it's
yeah.
diversifying out, and I think for me, managing that and managing so many different sets and so many different releases. I just have a giant whiteboard with just everything, like all the information from when English One Piece release, when Japanese releases, what the name of the Japanese sets are, because they're also different to what the English one is. Like,
There is a lot to know, isn't there? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think look, you're always constantly trying to fine tune, your craft and what you're doing and your business practices to make it more practical for you. And I think that's the important thing. Like we all like to sort of absorb things in different ways and learn different ways. So you got to kind of find what works for you and fine tune on the way. That's what I found. But I think one of the biggest things too, because I found this when I, left my working life or, working for a boss life to going into my own business, I found that very scary at the time. And, the way I handled that was I remember I had a bit of holidays up and I had about, a month worth of holidays and I took the holidays. So while I was, starting the other business and, getting into that, I was still getting paid from my other job. That was my way of having that little, comfort zone of still having money coming in. But after like 2, 3 days, like I'm like, I'm never going back to that job again. Like this is grouse, like, and I haven't looked back since. So like, how did you handle that for, from, having your job and that security of knowing what's coming every week to say, all right, I'm comfortable enough now to, give that up and, do this full time. And obviously, when you tell your wife or your family that you're going to go break cards for a living, obviously they're going to be like, what the hell, you're crazy. I'm sure you got a bit of that. So, how'd you go about that? Tell us a bit about, what happened there.
The navigation process of resigning, I think, I was lucky because I worked in local government, and local government's typically not overly stressful. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some stresses that come with the position or what come with a job or working with local government that it becomes a little bit like that. And like I said, we didn't really have I haven't paid myself basically up until I finished up the job, and then your navigation of your super, your sick leave, your annual leave, how do you balance that, and everything else that sort of comes with it, and then the conversation. I think, as I said, it kind of got pushed into it a little bit as well because talking about it, and then people were being quite condescending about it. And I was just like, well, why can't you just be happy for me? Like, I'm not pressing everything. I'm not gloating of like how much I'm making or anything like that. It's like I'm happy doing what I'm doing. What I need
Yeah.
for me, like, because I went through the process of trying to go from full time to part time. That was like the first little security thing I did, and work were really bad about it. And the like, whatever my boss was like, he said to me like, it isn't what you're suggesting like the traditional role of a wife or female partner. I'm like, I didn't
It's
realize we
really
went back
weird.
to 1960, mate.
Yeah, Jesus.
And then said, oh, the only reason we'd give like extended leave without pay is if you're going through severe marital issues or severe mental health issues. And it's been like putting roadblocks up for wanting to test the waters in something different, and for something that's going to be able to provide me what I need for me and my family. So it's like that ultimate flexibility of working the hours that I want to work to an extent, but then at the same time be able to go to like Nala's swimming lessons during the day, go to Nala's sports carnivals during the day. Don't have to worry about telling someone in the morning like, oh, I'm not going to be in today because the kid's sick. And anyone that has had kids or have looked after kids know that any kid that's in daycare is going to get sick every second week, and you're using all your sick leave, and you have to justify like why you're taking so much leave. And kind of got like over
Yeah.
that process. And then towards the end, as I was saying, like my boss was just getting more and more condescending to what I do, like in front of morning teas, in front of a directorate, which is like 100 plus people, be like, Cam's leaving us to sell Pokemon cards. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, in meetings, he'll say things like, we'll be sitting there and he'd be like, oh, I'm resigning my job to progress my career, unlike Cam is. I'm like, mate, again, what are you saying? Like, as if there's only like one direction that you can take with life. I'm like, you know what? I've given my
But yeah.
2 months notice. I didn't need to. I only needed to give 4 weeks notice, and then basically I can just be out. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna, meet with my doctors at the time. Like mentally, it was just like making me so angry. Not like anxious, but in the morning, waking up not happy and just be like, all right, this is not fair for me to put up with this sort of stuff. So I was like, I just need to get out as soon as possible. So all those things,
Yeah.
consideration, kind of like pushed me into it. And then Sam's like, you know what, just do it, just do it. You know what, you're not happy there, just do it. So like her support kind of like backed me in to that
Yeah.
position. Like my younger brother, he was super stoked. My older brother, he was a bit like, what are you doing? Like,
There's always one, yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but there's more avenues. Like the things that you see from stream is like one part of it, but like sales outside, like through marketplace, through eBay, and through the website that comes outside of your live stream. Sort of
Yeah.
covers like all bases. Stream is definitely one part of it, but everything else is what comes with it. So, but yeah, very difficult to navigate, very foreign for me. As I said, working
Yeah.
in local government for so long, it was very cushy and it was good. Like the money's good, but didn't provide exactly what me and my family needed at the time. And I think I've found it, and I haven't looked back since really. So
Yeah, I think that's the worst thing about it. And if you don't know any better and you're in the workforce for X amount of time, you just sort of think it's normal. But then I think the further away I got from that, when I was about to go take that leap, I'm like, I look back at it and I'm like, that was crazy. Like they try and guilt trip into all this stuff, even like to have a sickie when you're actually sick. You gotta go through all these things. Like I need a doctor's certificate, or are you really? What have you got? Like they start questioning you, like you're lying. And I found like that culture is very bad, but it's so common in today's workforce. And doing that leap full time and working for yourself, I think you start to realize how really bad that is. And again, it's not without its challenges and that, but yeah, when I look back, that was one thing I really noticed that, we shouldn't have to really put up with that stuff. But yeah, again, it's it's kind of normalized in today's day and age, which is sad. But again, yeah, it's good to say that you're doing well and the family's there to support you. I think that's a huge thing. So that goes on to the next question. So you do see the kids come on stream, Sam pops in and says hello. Like that's I think a big thing with your stream to have that family feel. So, what role do you think they play in supporting the business, either like directly or indirectly?
definitely, I think it's more like relatable content. I would say, like by all means, my house is not quiet. Like everyone knows, when Ryan's having a bath because he's like screaming like a dinosaur, or sisters stir him up and they're like, oh, you see it in chat, everyone be like, rah. But like the what did I say? The at the start of when I started streaming, it was like there's like a sausage and a dinosaur, so like two separate gifts. The snagger and what was it? I think it was like sausages and dino. So those two gifts like played a part because it was like very NPC, and I'm not sure if you ever saw it. It was like the tiny tiny ra and the sausage.
I've seen it in your logo, but I don't know where the story come from. But yeah,
So that's on my business logo. Like I've got a little sausage and a little dinosaur in there. So the dinosaur's
yeah,
like more reference after those gifts got taken off TikTok to now Ryan. So you know people kind of get that, and I don't think there's been people in there, like I have to excuse myself for a bit because like Ryan's unwell, and Sam's been up to just go and like settle him down, or sometimes you just need dad's assistance to help him out. But I think like having them here, and like when I went over to Queensland and met with my moderators over in Queensland, it's kind of like a team building thing that we did, and open up a case of OPO7, and them meeting Sam, and then interaction with Sam on stream and everything else. It kind of helps bring familiarity and like people relatability in terms of other people's lives, and sharing certain things with your family. Like Ryan with his energy breaks, he loves his energy cards. So he'll be sit there and we'll yell out what energy card it is, like red, yellow, blue, and it just brings something different, not just Cam talking to a screen the whole
yeah,
time. So it's like that top and change, and they become like special moments on stream as well. So same with you know with Nala doing stuff, and Nala did a little holiday 151 Japanese break, and
yeah,
that video did really well, and people related to it. So, but it's just showing that point that like we're real, we're a family. It's not like a studio
yeah,
where it's just all set out. There's going to be chaos at times. Ryan's going to
yeah,
come in, he'll tell me, make it a mess and start picking up the mess, and those like little things that I think people relate to quite well, and
yeah,
kids are funny. Kids are funny. They'll come up with anything.
yeah.
They've got no filter. They'll say something doesn't look good or whichever. But Yeah, they love it, and his little
Yeah.
little hats and whatnot. It's just little stories that come from streams and little clips. So
Definitely a lot more raw, real, and genuine, I would say. So, and again, like I think people resonate with that, and you're going to find your audience when you are yourself and your family's there and they're being themselves. It doesn't come across as, fake or stage, which I think what a lot of people resonate with. So that's pretty cool to see. And I don't see a lot of that happening with other streams. So you kind of found a little niche there, I guess. So,
touching on that, sorry, when you say like
yeah, you're right.
people not being real, and it comes like with some people that come in chat, like people come in chat and say certain things, and some people take the approach of just ignore it, or rather take the bull with the horns and call them out straight away, like, mate, you're being
Yeah.
a complete ass here, like just settle down, or
Hit it in the butt
call them
straight
little
away.
bro or whichever. But a lot of people kind of like bypass that and then let it happen, and
Yeah.
then if you see something in chat where they're being condescending towards someone, or just condescending towards cards or you certain things, it's like, well, whilst it might not be valuable for you, it's valuable for other people. People, yeah, Fruit Loops, Kel. um, People like different things, and you got to be okay with people like different things. Not so much like, okay, everyone needs to like exactly the same as I'm like. People come into chat like, open up Pokemon cards. I'm like, mate, this person's purchased like One Piece. A lot of people didn't like One Piece when I first started opening it, and then it's become more and more popular. But it's like being real towards the people that are also in your chat, and if they're crossing the line, crossing the border, then just like either one, call them out and just be like,
Yeah.
nah, that's not appropriate. And then moderators are like bloody amazing, really good. They'll know like Yaya knows when I'm getting pissed off, and if I'm getting too pissed off, she'll be like, "All right, I'm muting and blocking him straight away," because she
Yeah.
can see
That's
me
the
getting fired up
sign.
in that sense. But I'm
Yeah.
not one to ignore things. If something comes in, or if I don't agree with what someone's saying, or if they're being condescending or taking away that experience for someone else, I'll call it out. I just don't tolerate those
Yeah.
sort of things. And people are scared with like the perception that may look quite bad on you as a person, but I think reputational risk is a lot worse. Well, for you, if someone's doing that, then that takes away experiences from other people. So it's a
Of
fine
course.
line. There's a balance there, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely got to be real and make sure that you look after your community and your moderators as well.
Well, yeah, you definitely said that even in content creation, like people obviously aspire to be like someone that they look up to, and you kind of see that like sort of filter into how they sort of, act in front of camera or whatever. But I find if you just be yourself, do content the way you would want to do it. Like, there's no need to copy people. And I think that by doing that, you're just like competing with more people rather than just finding your own sort of little, the way of doing things. And you're going to resonate with people more genuinely. It's going to come across more genuine. And I think you're going to grow a more organic audience that way that actually want to be there. Not just a number that might just be there for like one time and then, you don't see them again, which is, going back to what you're saying about numbers not being as important. But yeah, like definitely some good points there. So I think now getting into the nitty gritty. So, if I'm someone that wants to start, being a breaker, doing this like you and want to be the next, Dallyrips in the breaking scene. So what could you say to someone that wanted to get into live breaking? What's the first steps that I should take if I wanted to do that?
I think it's just setting yourself up for legitimacy, like from the very start. I think it is overwhelming when you first start, and you look at your business registration and how you set up your business or your company, and how that sort of legitimizes what you're doing, if that makes sense. People see it and think like it's going to be a quick buck, and then it's going to make a couple of bucks, and then just like leave from it. So it's like kind of determining as to what your somewhat plan is as to how you're going to progress it. For me personally, like when I started, it was like, all right, business registration, first thing I'm going to do, make sure that, the ABN numbers and everything set up on the website, make sure everything's kosher, make all your policies and everything else. So there's a lot of pre-planning before you start. Like the easy part, as you said, and I've said, is like turning on the stream. The stream is the easy part, opening up stuff, like great. So definitely legitimizing your back end side of things. So that includes like your website, your policies. If you think that you're going to be hitting that threshold for GST, making sure you're registered for GST, make sure that's all good on that side. if you want to pursue it as a business and long-term business, like an appointed accountant, and making sure that you have all your ducks aligned. Because when it comes to your BAS that comes like every quarter, every month, every half year or yearly, like you want to make sure all your bookwork is like clean. Given the world that we live in with TCG products and secondhand goods, like there's a lot of little intricacies that come with that side of things as well. Buying things from the secondhand market, claiming GST on those products, and everything else. So making sure that you have a little bit of an idea as to what you can and can't claim, and same with the business, exactly the same thing. Having a business account, have all your money go into one business account rather than your personal account, because that will be an absolute mess. Like that for me was like the first thing. Everything's good on the back end side of things. Next point was like how I'm going to live. So TikTok was just a no-brainer for me. Like super easy. Your content can be really discoverable for a lot of different people. But building that audience from a start, so like engaging, building relationships, speaking to people. When you start your account, not just going and buying 1,000 followers and turning on a live just to say that like, oh, okay, I can go live and I've got 1,000 people that follow me, but no one's going to watch my live. But being known within the scene, and building up your community from the start. Like this is where I started. These are the videos that I posted. Build up your audience through that way organically, rather than purchasing the likes, the follows, everything else that comes with it, the comments that come with it, because that's going to just not help you at all. The TikTok algorithm is going to notice it, and it'll be unorganic content, or content that's been purchased. So people, TikTok will recognize that. They won't push you on the For You page for your live videos. They won't push you on the videos. Like nothing will happen. So basically post content, and content that's relevant to what you're doing. And this is, like I said at the start, it's a mistake that I made when I started. My content was very much like scattergun. Here's all the Pokemon, here's everything that comes with the cards. But nothing like to say, this is what I'm doing. We're live opening packs for people, and, educating people through that process. Well, now most of my stuff is around that. And then, from the odd occasion, like ranking alternate arts from certain sets, or, ranking Charizard cards, which Charizard's completely overrated, but
In your opinion?
yeah, it stirred the pot a little bit. But
Yeah.
with consistency comes reward, and I woke up this morning to my a video right that I posted that I didn't put any, I didn't put. I would say I didn't put any up. Didn't put much effort into the editing, so it doesn't matter like how pretty a video is, how good it is, like the consistency of posting, and looking at the views. And like I was saying, like numbers isn't important, but like if you're looking for numbers and people to start following your account and start pushing you through FYP, which is the little important part about having numbers attached to videos. But like the first video for me that went completely viral was the Charizard error pack that I pulled, where it had like one upside down EX Charizard, and then a standard one. 102,000 now, thanks. So it's
Keeps
like
pushing.
that
Yeah.
video for me, and I've posted hundreds of them. And that one's like really, for whatever reason, it's just gone viral. And it's not like one that's aesthetically pleasing. We talk about like
Yeah.
your audio hooks, your visual hooks, like at the start. What's going to make people want to watch that video from the start to the end? And there's
Yeah.
so many like good content creators that do it really well. And then for whatever reason, something just gets pushed and some things don't. And, some things that I put more effort into it, pulled like 3 mangas in a night, did a part series, like, all right, people might follow it from that. And then, the first two, Blackbeard, Shanks, and then the Manami one, which was like one of the bigger ones, was like, I think it had like 1,000 views or something like that. But, you know,
Yeah.
those sorts of things which, take sort of part into it. So,
Well, you can't really plan for an error pack, so it's kind of just something that happened, and you got to make the most of that opportunity, because obviously it doesn't really happen too often in the way it did. And being Charizard, that's just the perfect recipe, for something to go viral. So I think it's a bit of everything there. But again, yeah, consistency, and you kept posting videos. You just don't know which one's going to take off. And obviously that helps with a bit of exposure, which is, nothing wrong with that. And as you were telling me before, like you got a few people join the Discord, and you got a bit of well, you made a bit of noise with that video, which is, yeah, it's gonna benefit you in the end. But
I think, yeah, with those things come like certain, well, people will see that, and then some things will come from that content as well. And I think I said like at the start, I'm not one to dance things around or be more for like a no tolerance type thing. So people taking away from that experience, so like some of the commentary around it, be like people who show the last four cards are scammers. I'm like, what? Completely against my character. I was like, you know what? The
Yeah, you're
old
gonna
me
get
would have gone to and take that video and make a video from that comment, but I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna just delete it because it just takes away from everyone else as such. So it's like managing. I think even in like the Discord people that come in, some of them look like bots. Just by all means, it's great to have like 450 people in Discord, but if they don't look legitimate, it's not worth the risk if for that potential
yeah, 100%.
one person. So it's a fine balance, that's for sure.
I guess one thing too, like you were saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think a lot of people just want that overnight success. And I think that's where they go wrong. And hence how you were saying like buying followers and stuff. But, long term, that's not going to really do you the world of, good as you explained. So I think just having that patience, consistency, over time, if you keep doing the right things, you're going to be successful. I think that's one important thing, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be breaking content or any really, any business really. Like it's not going to happen overnight, but if you do the right things consistently, well, that's going to compound into something really good. But it's just having that patience, to see, that come to, fruition, which is, one thing I learned, the hard way. I always just like trying to go for that instant gratification, which I found very quickly it's a good way to lose a lot. So definitely that's, really good advice there. And I think one thing that people it comes up a lot, and it's, how much do I need to invest or how much do I need at the start, to get started? And that could come in terms of, what equipment do I need? You can say the bare minimum, or, the stock obviously you need to start breaking. What do you find there's like a perfect sort of balance there to start with?
Well, talking from personal experience, I had my gaming PC, which was basically built to play games and somewhat stream on it. So I had some sort of capability there, and basically use the PC and use TikTok Studio to stream my side of things, which come with a couple of prerequisites in going live and whatnot. And I thought, in terms of production value, would add to that. But that's like not a thing that you need to have. It's like a nice to have type thing. Most people use their phones, and phones work well. Me being 4'9", 6'9", looking down at my phone, and the ergonomics around that was just not working for me. Like I did it for a piece, thinking, I was getting quote unquote shadow banned. On TikTok, and I wasn't getting pushed for the FYP, and wasn't getting those little things that knowing what I know now wasn't exactly true. Like conversations through my TikTok manager, which you get a point of one through TikTok, basically said there's no such thing as shadow ban. It's more the algorithm doing its thing, and there'll be moments where you're quiet, moments when you're busy, but make the most of when you're busy. Work out how you're going to interact, chat more, how many likes you're going to get, and little things throughout your live will help push you through that FYP and give you more of an audience. And as you said, it's not a sprint. Like it would be lovely to go from no viewers to 100 viewers, but I need so. But I digress.
Yeah.
The stock side of things, I started off with about $5,000 worth of product, and that was like at the time I think it was like Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, City in Flames, English 151, Crown Zenith was huge because the stock that you're able to get for it. I think it was the Zacians and Zamazenta. Premium collection would come 11 packs, little Zacians or Zamazenta, little figurines, and a promo card. I had my Fusion Strike. I had my old vintage binder that was given back to me from a brother, and that was basically used from the sales of that binder to source the stock that I needed. I think Paladin Fates was coming out, and at the time, the supply that I was using wanted payment like 2 months before. So I had to pay it
Jeez.
early. Bank of Mum was great. She was
Yeah.
she helped us out a lot in that sense to help like pay for the pre-orders side of things. But I literally started with maybe a case worth of Pokemon cards and maybe 100 plus packs of Crown. Now I've got you know
Yeah.
hundreds of
A lot.
booster boxes that sit behind me, not just Pokemon but One Piece, and I think that goes from investing all the money that the business earned back into the business rather than whatever the business earns, then pay myself and then just keep recycling in stock, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but there's no right or wrong answer. You can invest in everything and find that you're probably holding on to a lot of things on your shelf, especially if you don't have that audience early. So, starting small and then just growing from there, using that money, like I said, setting up your business bank account, putting all your funds into that account, using that money to then reinvest into other things and diversify as to what you provide. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
it's yeah, there's no right or wrong answer. No right or wrong answer. You can start with small, you can start with a lot.
Start, I guess. That's probably the best advice. Yeah, just start.
Yeah, and $5,000 worth of products. Like I probably started less with that, and then just start streaming, once or twice a week, and that's basically it. But the intent for me was to do like 5 days a week consistently from the very start. And I think I've missed a couple of weeks through sickness and through holidays, but it's always been 5 days. I think I had one week where it was 4 days because I did 12 hours in a row. I was like, I'm way too tired to do a stream on a Monday. I think everyone had enough of me by then too, but yeah, no minimum, no maximum requirement. Just find whatever works for you and whatever you're comfortable with, and test the water.
Yeah,
As Robert Kawasaki says, like dip one foot in the water rather than jumping with both feet if you're very risk averse. So
there you
test
go.
it, go from there, and then reinvest when you
Yep,
can.
yep.